45.
4. I guess because I'm Williams. That's what that
Okay, I'll call all 6 of you to order and we'll have a meeting of the regular city council. And we have one of our council members, Councilman Hibbs, is joining us by Zoom, I guess.
We see you.
I don't know, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Big voice.
All right, I don't think we have anybody in the audience to call before us. This evening, Officer Medley, I guess you're representing the city police?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. He's along the cover tonight. So. All right. Looks like we have a kind of a short agenda, so we'll go on and get started. View of the minutes. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes. If we don't have any corrections or additions, we'll approve them by unanimous consent. All right. I'll call on our Chief Financial Officer, Aaron Bowles, to go over then our financial report from December.
Thank you, Mayor. So we've reached our halfway mark for the fiscal year. General fund revenue continues to outperform budget. And meanwhile, general fund expenditures are underperforming versus budget. So we're in a pretty good position 6 months in. For December, we have just under $1.1 million of revenue recognized, with about 91% of that coming from OLF net profit fees. In the chart provided, you can see OLF's running around was about a little over $1 million per month. The next largest item was other taxes, which makes up LG&E franchise revenue, telecom revenue, and then some additional property tax that we received. Police and fire had some miscellaneous revenue come in during the month. About $6,500 for the police was associated with them providing officers during the Cheers to Bardstown and March Festival. And then another $2,500 was for some CPR training that the fire department provided to one of the local manufacturers. Code enforcement revenue was up quite a bit this month. We had a lien release on a property that was awaiting sale. So all that came from that sale. Year-to-date revenue, we're standing around 60% of budget, or $6.8 million. And again, we've discussed this in the past, but we received about $448,000 of unbudgeted revenue. So even backing that out, we're running around 57% of budget. So we're well ahead of where we should be. Moving on to expenditures. General fund expenditures running right around 48% of budget for the year. We incurred right around $831,000 during the month of December, with salaries and payroll tax taking up about 54% of that $831,000. Some other items to note in the chart below. We had the Conway settlement was paid out during December. And then we had, at the very end, we had a playground canopy we purchased for $8,500. That's going to go, I think, right back behind us. It's a shade structure that the rec department's going to put up to help provide some shade while parents are with their kids over on the playground in that new zip line area. Total to date expenditures are running around 48%, $5.2 million. The general fund surplus as of 12/31 is right around $1.5 million. While this is well ahead of our $200,000 surplus we had budgeted, we still have some larger expenditures that are outstanding that are still coming up, possibly within the next 6 months. So I wrote down a few of these just to kind of give you guys a heads up of where we're standing there. So we've got $300,000 left to spend for a street sweeper. $228,000 is available for street paving. $137,000 is left to pay out grants and contributions to some of the local groups like NCTA, BIDC, those guys. We have $111,000 left to spend for the recreation building. We're putting in a new gym floor there. $105,000 in street light projects through Edgewood and some new developments, and then $80,000 in sidewalk rehab projects from a study that we had done a couple years ago to grind and smooth out some of those surfaces throughout the city.
And I missed what you said about Edgewood.
We're a street lighting project down through there.
Okay. Great, thank you.
So that's about $961,000 left to spend.
That comes out of the street budget as opposed to utilities, I guess.
Correct. So although, again, we're at $1.5 million, if you factor in those items to be spent, our surplus is really around $561,000. Still in a very good position though for the general fund. Moving on to the combined utilities. Revenue remains steady, $3.6 million for the month of December. 93% of that was coming from service charges throughout our 5 departments. Most all income categories that you see there on the chart are normal and common from month to month, and nothing's really out of the ordinary there. I labeled some of the state recycling grant and the KEME dividend. Those are 2 kind of unusual items. That's not actually a state recycling grant, that's a litter abatement grant. I mislabeled that. And our service charges, I was looking at that just today, just trying to see, since that's our main money maker in the combined utilities, looking at all departments, our service charges are running around 49% of budget. So again, right on target, being 6 months into our fiscal year. Year-to-date revenue, we're sitting around 44%, or $21.4 million in the combined utilities fund. Expenditures remain steady also. $3.5 million were expended during the month of December. Year-to-date, we're around 41% total for the combined utilities. And then just to detail out some of the different departments in the combined utilities. Electric had $1.3 million of expenditures, with 84% of that coming from our electric purchase from KU. They had some construction projects ongoing, some underground work out in Hirschman and Xavier Drive. Moving on to the water, sewer, and garbage departments, they had expenses just over $1 million, and they're running around 35% of their budget so far. Again, that's kind of artificially low due to the amount in dollars that we have in projects associated with them. Some of the items there in the chart to go over. Sewer construction project, Roan Creek, the total was $51,000, but of that, we had our final payout for Roan Creek of $15,000. American Greetings projects ongoing, $21,000. The Woodlawn Interceptor project's up and running, it's $11,000 there. Some of the water construction projects, we went ahead and purchased supplies for an upcoming project, the rehab projects of some of the downtown sewer. I believe it's going to be broken up into phases, so we did phase 1 last year, so this is going to be phase 2. We're going to go ahead and start and complete that. And lastly, the cable department had expenses of $1.1 million, and they're running around 47% of their budget for the year. Cable, the affiliate fees took up a majority of that. They're $486,000 for the month, and they're running just a little bit ahead of budget. That line item is about 52%. for the year. And as of December 31st, the combined utilities are showing a surplus or net revenue of $717,000. So again, everything's running smooth with the combined utilities. That's all I have.
Thank you, Aaron. Anyone have any other questions for Aaron on this report? Looks like we are trending pretty well for the 6-month period, but Combined Utilities knows how to spend money with all the projects we've got going, and that will be eaten up pretty quickly. Anybody else got anything on that?
I would just like to say, Mayor, I think Amber, I don't know if anybody realizes this, is doing a really good job collecting some of our code enforcement. We're getting liens filed a lot faster, I think. So, there haven't been as many foreclosures or properties being sold that have liens on them, but she is doing a good job, and that was a big one.
Yeah, right.
So-
That was almost half of her budget revenue. So I think we budgeted $10,000 in enforcement fees, code enforcement fees. So that was,
And a lot of times we get them in foreclosures, but because there's been the moratorium, we haven't had as many come in. I don't think it's since,
Right, and it's a good point, and that sounds good, but a lot of that is to recover money that we have expended as a city maintaining these properties, that are not being maintained, and so it's not like these are fines that we're just getting pure profit on. It's all we are is recovering our own incurred expenses for work that we're doing because the property owners are not keeping those properties up. But we do like to recover them when we can. So
at least we're breaking even, maybe.
yeah. So
Pat it down. Sorry.
okay, thank you, Aaron. We have a resolution R 2022-01. I just would call on our city attorney to read that resolution, please.
Resolution R 2022-1, a resolution to honor Kentucky Humanities for 50 years of service to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Whereas Kentucky Humanities, an independent nonprofit affiliate organization of the National Endowment for the Humanities, was established in 1972 and is devoted to bringing humanities programs to communities across the Commonwealth. They recognize the need to build civic engagement to promote literacy for all ages and to honor the history, literature, philosophy, and values by which we live in all Kentucky towns, including the city of Bardstown. And whereas Kentucky Humanities has made more than 2,600 grants to organizations in Kentucky totaling more than $9 million in 50 years of service to the Commonwealth. And whereas Kentucky Humanities has brought 10 Smithsonian traveling exhibitions to Kentucky, published more than 48 issues of the Kentucky Humanities magazine, and published 14 new books for new readers with the University Press of Kentucky. In addition, they have sponsored more than 280 primetime family reading programs. And whereas Kentucky Humanities has assumed the management of the Kentucky Book Fair, now called the Kentucky Book Festival, the longest running and premier book festival in the state of Kentucky, now celebrating its 40th year. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Bardstown, Kentucky recognizes and congratulates Kentucky Humanities for 50 years of service to the Commonwealth of Kentucky and Nelson County.
Thank you, Audrey. This organization, reached out to cities around Kentucky just to let people know there are organizations like that that are promoting reading and particularly providing resources in communities for young people. And a lot of people don't know that organizations like this are out there. They're also providing money as well as publications to promote reading. So I think it was proper for us to recognize them on their 50th anniversary for that organization. Hope they continue to do their work. We need to, let's go ahead, if I could, ask someone to make a motion to approve our resolution recognizing the 50 years of the Kentucky Humanities.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Williams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second one, Councilwoman Hart. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. We do have a few appointments. A couple of them are new and one reappointment. Mary Spalding sent us a recommendation. She heads, our Human Rights Commission. She sent us a recommendation for Brandon Nakasato to fill an unexpired term. Patrick Whalen. Patrick, as you all know, is active in the community, but he's not here for several months, a year. So, and he, after several years of serving in this position, has stepped down with his term expiring, so or unexpiring. But so Mary. Brandon, I think, she just sent me some notes here that Brandon's a 1999 graduate of Bardstown High, also works at the UL School of Nursing. He graduated from Western Kentucky and has been active in human rights commissions in Alaska and Montana, where he's lived, I guess, since he went to school here. So I think he's a young man. Do any of you old guys know Brandon?
Keisha Copeland's brother.
Right. Okay.
Younger brother.
So I think Mary's excited to have some younger people get involved in that organization, and somebody that's had some exposure in some other states working in that field. So I would ask for a motion then to approve Brandon's appointment for a 3-year term on the Human Rights Commission.
So moved, Mayor.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Shekels. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Buckland. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Board of Adjustments, Fred Hagan has agreed to serve again as a reappointment for a new 4-year term beginning February 1st. So we all know Fred, former council member, and has been serving on the Board of Adjustments. And I think maybe he served either that or planning and zoning at one time before that. So,
Planning and zoning.
yeah. So he's very experienced and good to have on that board. So I need a motion to approve Fred's reappointment for a 4-year term.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, I think David, Councilman Dones, and then
That's all right.
Councilwoman Hart on the second. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to add, I think that's probably one of the toughest jobs that we have here that's not paid. It's a tough job. I'm glad Fred stepped up.
Well, 10, 15 years ago, it was sort of a quiet board that didn't have a lot in front of it, but this day and time, with so much development going on and short-term rentals and all the zoning goes into that, they got a lot going on now.
They do.
So I'm happy that Fred's signed it up for another 4-year term. And then on the Housing Authority, it's Cleo, is it Filan?
Filing.
Yeah. Fill an unexpired term where Teresa Maddox has decided that she didn't want to run for another term. So finish out her term, I guess. So we need a motion to approve Cleo to finish out the term through February of 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Williams, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Shekels, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one.
We didn't back up for that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't vote on Brad.
We'll go ahead and finish that vote.
Got time, all right, we have, any opposed on that one? All in favor? You got me thrown off here.
Yeah, sorry.
So on filing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we got to talk about Fred being such a good candidate. We forgot to vote, or I forgot to vote. Need a motion, so I need a motion to approve Fred's appointment.
No, we got that.
All right, now, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, sorry about that. Thank you.
We're done.
Thank you, Gary, for keeping me straight. Okay, we have some cemetery deeds, one gravesite each for Rick Gray, Crystal Harden, Dolores Elaine Downs, Margaret Littlejohn, Brittany Littlejohn DeLonder, and Amy Fields. And then purchase of 2 grave sites each for Earl Austin. So we can approve those by unanimous consent. Thank you. Any members of the council have anything to bring before the council this evening? I know you all been working on your blessing boxes, got them full. Bill, have you heard any more on what's planned for Martin Luther King event? I know we talked earlier this week, but or Saturday.
Well, the next generation of concerned parents, they're planning on doing something virtual, the last I heard, but I haven't heard anything since last week, so.
So it won't be a live.
No, it won't be alive. They were a little concerned about the COVID numbers spiking last week and thought it'd be better if they did a virtual like they did last year, so.
I guess they will at least let us know, elected
Yeah.
officials.
I made a point to address that, so we'll see.
Okay, thank you. That leads me
And the
into
press.
some discussion about our council meetings and COVID. Nelson County Fiscal Court has decided to go back into virtual meetings at their next meeting next Tuesday. And reading Jim Brooks's report today, the numbers are not very good here in Nelson County. I think I got it right. Over the weekend, our numbers from Saturday made us, or excuse me, over the weekend, our numbers on Monday had us ranked 9th in the number of cases out of 120 counties in the state. 283 reported on Monday. The first week of January, we had 301 cases. That compares to the last week of December of 129. So you can see it's doubled in the last week to 10 days. So I want to know whether you all feel like we might ought to follow suit with the fiscal court and go back to virtual. I've been reading, I'm sure you all have too, read some of the same report. They've said over the last few weeks that they felt like there was going to be quite a surge in January. I don't know whether it'll level off. Keep surging like this, everybody who's been not got it will have it.
But the kids went back to school, so I'm sure that's the big reason for the spike, don't you think?
I don't know.
With the holiday gatherings.
Holiday trips.
Yeah.
How is it with the school kids? Are they?
Well, the first week, last week, they spiked up, but so far this week, they've gone back down. But what's really spiked them up is that in all the different schools, they're the same families. Like you might have a kid that's in the high school that have a little brother in elementary school, or it's been families that have been affected, not the general populace of the school. So, but the numbers have gone considerably down. They were yesterday, so. But
Greg, you had a number of the city, we had some.
It's almost exactly the same. So the last 2 weeks, at the beginning, a couple of weeks ago, we started going up. I was getting 2, maybe even 3 employees a day. The last week, we've only had a couple in the last several days. I think they're exactly right. I think Christmas, along with Omicron, it's much more highly contagious. And all the gatherings caused a spike. And then everything that I've read, they're looking for the spike to go back down at the end of January. Towards the end of January, it'll level off and start going back down. As you know, it's only a 5-day, quarantine now. You got to quarantine for 5 days and then come back to work.
So I just want to throw that out. We've got 2 weeks to our next meeting. Do you want to make a decision today, or kind of wait until we get closer to the date? It's not too hard to go either live or virtual, as far as notifying the media and the public.
I'd wait. Well, like you say, it's not that big of a deal to go one way or the other.
Okay.
So as long as we were, say, a week prior, wait the week, does that give Gary enough time to?
It might be 4 days in advance, like Thursday, Friday before the Tuesday, or something.
Okay, well, then we'll just do that. We'll just see how these numbers go. Mr. Brooks will keep us. Thanks for doing some of the back. It saves me some time going on the website and looking them up myself, so thanks for the reporting. Any other council members have anything?
City's workers did a good job while you were gone.
That's why I went up, thank the staff and everybody for all the great work they did responding to last Thursday and Friday. I mean, I think every department was affected and every department was put to work. We were talking the day before about trying to do some preemptive. That was one of those storms that even doing the salt work on the hills and intersections early that morning, it came at such force that by noon, then the whole town let everybody off at the same time, and the roads got blocked, and the roads that weren't blocked, they got blocked for people trying to use them to get around. It really affected, and I know police, I think 30 y'all worked 30 accidents from what I was told last Thursday, just in the city limits, and over 70 in the county-wide. And I know Chief Billy and the fire department, they were assisting with wrecks and stuff, and then as luck would have it, 2 a.m. that next morning at 11 or 10 degrees temperature, we had a fire that broke out. So our firemen were out fighting fires in that extreme weather conditions, and it's a job well done by everybody. It was just, and I think most people understood. I know people were aggravated with 2 hours and 3 hours getting home, but what they didn't understand too is that as the trucks went out, they were kept from getting back into town because many of the roads closed behind them as they were trying to get back into town to get more salt to go back out. So that really hampered the state and county effort, and even our guys. It was taking almost an hour to get from Walmart back to a Public Works building to reload our trucks because all the streets were blocked, and then they couldn't get, by 2 o'clock that afternoon, the streets were choked down, and so our trucks couldn't move like they normally do. Now, they worked all night, and I think our streets were in pretty decent shape, Friday morning, because they were able to work all night. We put them up in a hotel, so the group that got off at 4 went to the hotel, and they came back on at midnight. The group came back on at midnight, went to the hotel, they came back on at 8 o'clock next morning. So, I think, did we end up having a few of our own?
No, they made it home.
They made it home. We thought we were going to have to put a couple of employees up because they couldn't get home. So, anyway, it was quite an event. So, I just want to thank and recognize all the great effort that everybody did. And then the Bardstown Police Department, if you noticed, were recognized. I don't think the paper just showed that there was a manslaughter conviction related to a drug sale, which is, I think, maybe one of the first ones that has happened in my memory here in Bardstown. And then I saw where there's another person charged. So it's one thing to get a conviction for selling drugs, but now when you also find out who caused the death of that person by selling them drugs that caused an overdose and then getting a conviction, that's great work on the part of our police department and officers. So please extend our appreciation to the detectives and all the work that happened, and we had cooperation out of the Attorney General's office on that case. That case has been in the works for a long time, but finally came to pass that we indicted that person and got a conviction out of that. But we hope that that type of thing might help. If nothing else, it's taken some bad people off the streets. So appreciate the work there. That is all I have. I don't know if anybody else has anything to bring before. Dennis, you got anything?
Happy birthday next Sunday, man.
Well, you too next Tuesday. So, anyway. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilman Buckner, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Checker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.